Well, yes, this is the last session of today's conclave, but as Rwitwika said, this is one of the most exciting because a lot of you young people during the course of our campaigns, and we do various campaigns, not just the Behtar India, but they always ask, what can we do? We're so young, you know, how can we make a change? It's such a vast world, a vast country. There's so many big issues that we need to, you know, fight for and protect. So the panelists who are going to be coming up now are young people like you, many of them, as Rwitwika said, 15, 16-year-old, and they've already made a difference. They've at least thought about things and tried to do things in their own way. One young man who, from pollution in the air, he captures this suit and it's used for, you know, art. So that is something incredible. Another young boy from a school has also created spectacles to help the visually impaired. So that's another very interesting you know, product that he thought about, because innovation, remember, is really the key. Right now, it's a time when the world is moving away from polluting energy sources to renewable energies like solar and wind. And this is all innovation. In fact, solar and wind energy in the last 2 years the costs of it have fallen drastically, which is amazing, and obviously will make us be able to access cleaner energy in the years to come. And so what I'm saying is that, you know, so innovation is something that is key, and I think our education system also needs to drive that innovation in students to make them question and think about it more. But let's get on stage. All the panelists, do come up. All right, here we have Vimlendu. He's a founder of Swachhta, which also works on the issue of Swachhta and in Delhi as well. All right, Nitesh Kadyan, he's the person. Anyway, we're going to go to each of them one by one so I don't confuse you and you know who everyone is. And you can, yes, come and sit. All right, well, so as you know, this campaign, Behtar India, it's all to do about students. It's all to do, and they're the driving force of the campaign. When we speak about Swachhta, we speak about health, we speak about you know, the environment. It's these young minds that we're trying to ignite and make them real ambassadors for this, and something that, because they're the future of this country, and you guys are the future of this country, and you've all done amazing things at a very, very young age. So I was just telling them, Nitesh, about this suit that you thought about, and you know, getting it from getting pollution from the air, literally, and using it and making use of it. So I'd like you to share with them, how did you even think about something like this? And I can see you're carrying a box of it as well.
So the idea about air ink evolved through just basic observation. So while you walk on the streets, your shirts get dirty, right? If you're wearing a white shirt, it will turn black after a day of work. So our team thought that why can't we just see this? So the reason why it gets dirty is because there are soot particles present in the air. I can show you what you actually breathe while you walk on the street.
So there's literally pollution from the air. You know, you've captured it from the air and you're just using it for art.
I don't know if you can see it, but this is exactly what you breathe while you walk on the streets. This is called particulate matter 2.5. It's the pollution which comes out of diesel cars and trucks which ply on roads. So we thought if these shirts are getting dirty, why can't we repurpose this black suit and make something creative out of it? So
and at the same time, I think it's creating awareness, because imagine that black suit that he just showed you is something that you're breathing. It's from the air, and Delhi is one of the most polluted cities, as you all know. And all our other cities are not doing much better than Delhi, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so we thought of why can't we repurpose it into something more creative. So we made these markers out of this suit. So actually this suit is a raw material for inks. It's deliberately burnt, so in countries, it's deliberately, the fossil fuel is deliberately burnt to generate soot. But it's already out there, it's already burning in the vehicle. So we thought, why can't we just use this soot and turn it into something as good as inks? So we collaborated with artists around the globe, did campaigns across the countries like Hong Kong, London, Berlin.
And you're getting orders from various parts of the world. Maybe schools can also use it in their art. But let's now talk about other issues. And Rwitwika, you tell us about Swaniti. It's something that you established. You work with the government. You work on development issues. So tell the students a bit about this and how you thought of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the goal of Swaniti was, to get young people into the system. The goal was to be problem solvers and work with the government in being able to deliver what we call public services, right? And as we can see today, and we can see from the audience, young people have some incredible ideas when it comes to how to work with the government, what to do. So what we started doing was we started actually with a program where we said, let's get the best minds to work with members of parliaments. And with senior level bureaucrats. And so we went through this intense recruitment process, brought in people from the best universities, best schools to go in and to spend a year with a government official, whether it's a member of parliament, whether it's a senior bureaucrat, to help them solve issues which truly affect all of us. Something as simple as, how does everyone get access to clean water, or how do we actually build more infrastructure? So that in a nutshell is what Swaniti
I mean, it's absolutely fascinating, because I think, again, as I started by saying that a lot of young people wonder, what can we do? There's so much to be done, and we're just one person, and we have no power. But this actually helps them see how the country is run, what our politicians do. I know these days we all see politicians portrayed in movies as these evil people. We see them on the shows yelling a lot, but of course there's a lot of work they're supposed to be doing in our constituencies, and I think that's something that you, through your this program, highlight when you send these young people. So tell us a bit more about what sort of issues do they work on when they go there?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. So something that not necessarily everyone knows is that a member of parliament is also answerable to their constituents. They go back to their constituencies and they're supposed to go ahead and actually respond to them. So there's something called a local area development fund. 5 crores, every MP gets it for a year. They can spend it on most of whatever they want. What we have young people going in and doing is, well, I can spend it on anything. And just like a person has one life, a person has finite resources. So why not go ahead and strategically plan on the things which we want to spend on? So for example, if I notice there aren't enough hospitals, let's have a young person go out there, actually measure how many hospitals there are, actually see if it's fulfilling the need, and then let's go ahead and see, okay, is there a need? If there is, let's put in 1 crore into that. So that kind of strategic focus and smart, educated, well-informed young people can do those calculations, and that's what we're hoping to do, like strategic development of governance resources.
That's absolutely incredible, and I think that's something young people should look at, actually working on development issues and actually working with our politicians to just see exactly what it is. And we had the politician panel up here earlier, and for once, as Vikram said, he got 3 different Congress, BJP, the Aam Aadmi Party to actually agree on one thing, which was Swachhta, and which was cleanliness and how we need to clean our cities. And speaking of cleanliness, one of the issues that we don't speak enough about is a lot of how we handle waste products. And Kristen, here I'd like to come to you, because you've developed sanitary pads that are biodegradable. And again, we recently did reports on menstrual waste and diapers. We use all these products, but we never think about how they impact our environment. And we're a vast country. We have a massive population. We have women in rural India who need access to these options. But at the same time, we need to give them greener options. So how did you think about this?
So actually, for us, we started with the idea that we wanted to bring access to more women in India to sanitary pads. But then started realizing when we were into manufacturing that we had to order the raw materials and produce the product. And the materials that are used in sanitary pads are actually mostly from plastics. There are a lot of chemicals used. And in the midst of thinking about this from our own perspective of being sustainable, we also realized that consumers were also unhappy with having a product that's disposable that contains a lot of plastic and chemicals. So we decided that instead we would look at how we're going to source sustainable materials to make the same product with the same functionality, yet it's all natural, no chemicals involved, and it's all from plant-based materials. So that's what we
From
developed.
banana leaves and...
Yeah, so we use banana tree fiber. So not the leaves, but the actual stem.
And from that, you've, I don't know, maybe some of the teachers will have to have a word with the students, because we've got some very young students here, so maybe they don't know exactly what it is that we're talking about. But this is a very, very important issue of looking for greener options with our waste, because we're a massive population in India, and we want to give, as we said, rural women access to these options, but at the same time, it's just mind-boggling the kind of waste that would create.
Right. And so one of the other things is that in rural situations, there are not always landfills, right? You don't have the same waste infrastructure that you would have in a city. And so if you're going to introduce a disposable product, then how is it going to be disposed of? And so that's where we're thinking, okay, well, this can be applicable or relevant both in villages and in cities, and there doesn't have to be any discrimination between the two. This will have benefits in the long run, and it turns out that actually using natural materials means it's better for the consumer as well. So women found that they don't have any irritation or rashes from using this product. So
all right, and then speaking of landfills, I think that's a very important issue. I think all students must be taken for school trips to landfills to at least see where that waste is going, because we're becoming a more and more consumerist and wasteful society. So, you know, at least it'll make them think that all the rubbish is being dumped here. And speaking of waste and cities, Vimlendu, I'd like to bring you here because you've been working on these issues for years now. And, you know, you've been taking kids up to Yamunotri. You've been showing them the source of the Yamuna that, as you all know, we've been speaking about this in Delhi, is a dead river. It's polluted, it's toxic, it's smelly. I mean, should take a trip to the Yamuna as well. We've been there, we've done events with Swachhta, and you could not stand next to the Yamuna because it was smelling so bad. And, you know, you have cities in Europe where the cities are actually along the river. They do all their recreational work along the river, but in Delhi, we just can't even think about it.
No, absolutely. So, you know, as your tagline also says, that it's actually about ecological sense, it's about civic sense, and it's about actually public health. So the reason why we need to talk about environment is not just because it needs to look good, but it's extremely critical for all of us. And the work that we do and many other people are actually doing is at two levels. One is that at a very fundamental level, there's only that much that you and I can do, but we need to do that much because we've actually, you know, given the entire responsibility to the state. So that's one part of the work where every citizen needs to think that, yes, it's also my responsibility and not just of the MCD or not just of the government to really clean our cities or maintain a particular kind of air quality or our environment in that sense. And the other is at the same time also hold the governments responsible for their task. So when we talk about waste and a lot of conversation that we were actually having about waste right now, imagine Delhi churns somewhere around what, 9,000 metric tons of garbage every day. And we don't really know, as in if you ask people in their room, do they remember their last waste? They don't, because they just put it in the dustbin and their association with waste ended there. But the cities and cities' ecology's association with waste did not end there. So I think it's very important for us to really do a higher level conversation at the same time, which is structural change in the way we are leading our lives as a society, and the other is as individuals what we do. So as in from a showcase point of view, I just want to show you something that that we make at Swachhta. So we make, you know, like this wallet, for example, is actually made out of car seat belt. Now usually if you have an old car seat belt or a flat tire, you chuck it or you'll burn it or you don't even know what should you do. Your kabadi wala takes it away. But imagine, of course, it's not something that takes care of the entire waste, 9,000 metric tons, but really creates a different kind of an educational, civic, and ecological value for our children and for our new generation to think that there's life more to waste. Waste is not something that should just be thrown away, because that, all forms of our pollution, by the way, when you talk about waste, it's not just about ugly-looking corner down Vasant Vihar Road. We are talking about land contamination, we are talking about water contamination, and we are actually talking about, you know, almost soil acidification that actually happens. And around all this, you and I don't deal with waste. There's someone else who is actually beaten up and lives in inhuman conditions. They deal with our waste, who are the poorest of the poor. So it's a very interesting socio-economic problem, which is completely linked to, so that is not just a marker, it's inside me, inside you,
right,
inside
that's in all our
everyone
lungs every day, the air that we're breathing and how toxic it is. And if you remember, one of the solutions the Delhi government thought about when last winter or last to last winter, we were facing very high pollution, was odd even. If all of you remember that cars with odd numbers were allowed on one day and cars with even numbers on another day. Well, let's bring in Akshat here, who actually started a web portal called oddeven.com for carpooling services. And you were just 13 at that time, Akshat. You came on to NDTV as well to talk about it, and it was such a great idea. So just tell the students about how you thought of it.